Oh.
It's when ions and atoms are bound together. There's ionic, covalent, and metallic.
Bam, bam, the science fam.
Oh yes, I'm so excited.
Bam, 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 the science fam.
Science is my bang.
Bam, bam, the science fam.
This better be interesting.
Bam, bam, the science fam. Bam, 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 bam.
Atoms are delicious.
Bam, bam, the science fam.
Bonds.
This is our lab intro. There are bonds all around you. No, I'm not talking about your pathetic love lives. I'm talking atoms.
Remember that atoms are the building blocks of all life. They make up everything. The world we know would not exist without bonds, atoms, or elements.
Bonds are what makes everything the way they are. It's how atoms stick together and how they're arranged. The world would not be possible without valence electrons.
Valence electrons are negatively charged subatomic particles that are exchanged between atoms to create bonds.
In order to form bonds, elements need to fulfill the octet rule. Each element must have 8 valence electrons in their outer ring to become as stable as possible. This is reached by atoms sharing, giving, or taking electrons. However, in some cases, specific elements do not need to fulfill this rule.
For example, water is a bond, H2O. Oxygen already has 6 valence electrons, meaning that it needs 2 more. Hydrogen has 1 valence electrons, so there needs to be 2 of hydrogen to fulfill the octet rule for oxygen. Hydrogen is a special case and only needs 2 valence electrons to fulfill its rule.
Think of bonding like hugging or holding hands, or a friendship. When you're by yourself, you aren't as strong or stable. In a friendship, your different traits and talents are combined, making new qualities. When you hug a person or hold hands, you become a part of them and become more stable.
Next time on Jersey Bonds. You thought you were slick.
What did I do wrong?
You out here bonding with all these elements, metalloids, noble gases, transition metals. You know they ain't loyal. You are the most reactive element I have ever met.
Why would you try to leave me? I have the whole 6 valence electrons package.
Oh, oxygen, your valence electrons are amazing.
I am the only one that bonds with him.
Okay, well, I was the one who bonded with him.
Okay, so we'll be back on
Oh
Wednesday at 2 o'clock with
no!
Greg.
I'm gonna fight with you. No!
I'm not tired.
Cut. I'm a Do you ever feel like you aren't attracting elements the same anymore?
Well, we've got something for you. Bondi. Bondi is our new product that'll help you get all the valence electrons you need.
Okay. Here's some right now.
Mama!
Get off of me! Stop me!
We'll be doing a
Nifty home
experiment.
On today's Nifty Home Experiment, you will need 2 sugar packets, 2 salt packets, a 9-volt battery, a stir rod, 2 rubber bands, iron nail, uncoated stainless steel screw, wire leads with alligator clips on each end, 250 milliliter beaker, and distilled water.
Step 1. Rinse a clean 250 milliliter beaker several times with distilled water. Fill the beaker to about 3/4 full with distilled water. Step 2. Pour a packet of sugar, about 3 grams, into the 250 milliliter beaker. Stir the solution with a clean stirrer until the sugar is dissolved and the solution is well mixed.
And now we're done.
Alright, step 3. Stretch 2 rubber bands around the 250 milliliter beaker. Be careful not to spill any of the solution. The rubber bands should loop from the top to the bottom of the beaker. Position the 2 rubber bands next to each other. Step 4. Attach the first wire lead, which is positive, to just underneath the flat head of the iron nail using the alligator. Place the iron nail between the 2 rubber bands on one side of the 250 milliliter beaker so that it is suspended in the water. The end of the nail should be in the solution, while the head with the clip is resting on the rubber bands. Now that you have done that, you should repeat the same thing with the stainless steel screw. Let's wait for him to do that. Get the rubber band situated. Alright, now that he's done that, we move on to step 6. Connect the wire from the iron nail to the positive terminal of the 9-volt battery. And you connect the wire coming from the steel screw to the negative terminal of the battery. Be careful because you are dealing with batteries around water, and that involves electricity. Now that we're doing that, allow the apparatus to sit in the stand for 2 minutes to make observation. All right, as you can see, the sugar crystals is starting to form around the screw.
So then we disconnect everything. Don't get shocked.
Touch it. Oh my God.
As you can clearly see, we've done the same thing with salt, and look at all that salt forming just around the lead, the negative lead connected to the stainless steel screw. And I mean the bubbles, not the salt.
Bubbles, not salt, guys.
I'm a bad scientist. Okay.
You can see it almost looks like it's boiling.
Now Aiden will explain.
As you can see.
In part 1, the salt conducted electricity better than because electrolytes are salts or molecules that ionize completely in a solution. Okay, so what you just saw happen there with the salt was basically electricity is adding electrons. So when the salt had more electrolytes to add the electrons to it, you added it to the water and that broke apart the bonds. So hydrogen was like, man, I'm out of here, oxygen, see you later. So that's what created the bubbles, which created a gas form of the water because the electricity did that. So the reason more bubbles popped up was because salt has more electrolytes than sugar. So that was the cause of not only the bubbles, but the water turning into a rusty looking state after we took the nails out.
Metallic,
Covalent.
and ionic.
Metallic bonds include pure metals, alloys, and mix of metals.
There are alloys everywhere. Pans, jewelry, gates, wires, and phones.
In a metallic bond, electrons are attracted to the positively charged metal atoms, or ions. The electrons move rapidly around the ions, like fish in the sea. This is one reason why metals conduct electricity.
A covalent bond happens when two nonmetals share electrons.
There are polar covalent bonds and nonpolar covalent bonds. In polar covalent bonds, electrons are unequally shared, meaning one side would be slightly positive and the other slightly negative. Think of this like tug-of-war. They're pulling in different directions.
A nonpolar covalent bond is where electrons are shared equally and the molecule is equal. This is like before you start a game of tug-of-war, when both sides have equal sides of the rope.
An ionic bond is where atoms are attracted to each other because of their charges.
Ever heard of the phrase of opposites attract? This is exactly what it is.
So, if sodium has a charge of +1, then it will be attracted to fluorine with a charge of -1.
This is like when one of your friends are upset, and you, being happy or positive, tries to bring them up and put them in a better mood, or to make them neutral.
I'm about to burn it up. Turn on. Oh yeah, here we go. Every time I look around, all I really see is atoms that are jealous cause they can't bond like me. I got ionic, covalent, metallic too. Got lots of others, JK, I'm traumatic boo. I dig down to their nuclei, even though I don't know who they are. It isn't my fault that I'm super reactive. I've got lots of elements and I'll show you how to bond. Hey, where my bones at? Where my bones at? I know how to bond with all of the elements. Now we're gonna show some bonding. Atom. Metal to metal. This is how I bond. Oh my god, you guys look so smart. Oh yeah. Okay, that's about it. Let's continue. I'm getting kind of bored. Yeah. So, if you want to bond, this is what you do. Make sure you complete the octet rule. You have to share and never ever duel. You gotta concentrate and don't act a fool. If you are ionic, you got metals and non-metals. And there are covalent, which only has non-metals. Finally, metallic only has metals. Also, there are bonds that are single, double, triple. Hey, where my bones at? Where my bones at? I know how to bond with all of the elements. Hey, where my bones at? Where my bones at? I know how to bond, and now so do you. Experiment. That was so much fun. Hope you guys have a good night, and yeah, goodbye. I love all of you. Just hey, where my bones? Is it off?
Everybody wants to.
No, it's a remix.
up.
Eat it. Science fam.
Bam.
Bam.
You thought you were slick. I love.
You're out of the frame.
Talking about your
Jersey bonds. You thought you were slick.
bond happens when two non-metals, when two
Oh, mother. For 2 minutes.
No, it has not. We have still seen no sugar forming because I have disconnected the battery to save battery, and now we still have to wait.
And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't